Hello, hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Good, good. Hey, Ethan.
Hi.
It's going pretty good so far. I mean, little few hiccups here and there, but otherwise, everything's going pretty good so far.
That's normal.
Yeah, it's an online conference, first time on the platform, so there's
Yeah,
definitely.
I haven't used this platform before.
Yeah, I've used it a couple times for one of the other organizations that involved in the Computer Science Teachers Association, and I saw it. I was like, hey, I used it. I really liked how it works. It seemed fairly easy. So I was like, oh, let's try and see what the quote would be, and it was decent.
Definitely worth trying. You should share your thoughts with other people, or even on LinkedIn. I think it'd be good because people are always looking for those kind of platforms. So
yeah, I really like the networking part of this too, because it kind of gives you something to do in that downtime when people normally in online conferences are like, oh, I'm just go walk away. I'm gonna go clean the house or do laundry.
Does it hook you up one-on-one with people? I haven't been. I'm on the IRS tax forum this week, so I haven't been watching as much.
Yeah, it's essentially speed dating. It's like one-on-one. Okay. You get 3 minutes, and then you'll get thrown into another person in 3 minutes, and then you can just keep going. As long as you want, you can stop at any time. You can extend the time. You can share your contact information if you filled out your profile. It'll share it with them. So
that's very cool. Very cool. Oh, let me get rid of that. I don't want that. Turn that off. Close windows. Close window. Close my window. Okay.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go check on some of the other groups, make sure their sessions are okay.
No worries.
All right, I am back.
Can you guys hear us?
You're very, very quiet. So I don't know if it's on the right microphone or not.
So we can't we have to use a headset, so we were trying to put it in between us so we could both hear and just use the headset mic, but we'll just put the headset on.
You're gonna have to hold the mic literally really close. So when you're using it, just pass it back and forth, essentially like a hand mic.
Oh, like this?
Yeah.
Okay, that works. Good idea.
That's just unfortunate with those headsets. They black out everything outside of it. So once you get more than like this far away, it's everything's gone. So
So everything's good. The recording or the video's good, right?
yeah, video's good. Yep, just hold it even closer to your mouth.
Okay, like
There we
that.
go. Yep. People don't realize you really want the microphone like almost in your mouth if you want to have the good quality.
Mhm.
For like radio and stuff, that's why you see they have like the filters, because literally they
Yeah.
would spit all over their microphone, just because of talking. But that's how, in order to get that radio quality sound, you have to be that close. So, well, thank you guys all for being here. We'll give it like another minute or two before we get started. But for those that are here today, I wanted to put on this panel just to get some of the perspective from parents and from the students that participate in IHSEA. And so that was the whole idea of putting this together, because through what I've seen students do because of esports, it really makes me want to get their stories out there to share with everyone else, because a lot of people are like, well, what's esports? What does it matter? Why? They're just sitting there playing games the whole time. And through what I've seen through people and the stories that I've heard, it's that's not what they're doing at all. They're becoming different people when they get involved in esports. And so that is the idea of this panel, is kind of get the word out there about what how esports has changed some of the people involved in it. So we'll get started in just a minute or so. I always like to give a little bit extra time. It's going to be mostly a panel discussion, questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in chat. These are two students. We'll do introductions in a moment, but these are two students and their parents talking about esports. And we'll get started in just a minute. So thank you again for being here, guys. Did you guys catch out any other sessions so far? Ethan, you've been watching a lot, haven't you? I think I saw you yesterday.
Yeah, I haven't been able to catch anything yet.
We got the tail end of the one that was just going on about like he was talking about like creating the different spaces and stuff for all this high schools. That was pretty cool, looking at all the different places that have been made.
That they helped make, yeah. That's actually where I got my current computer from, because no one else has graphics cards, and they're like, yeah, we got a bunch in stock. I'm like, all right, build me a PC.
Nice. I was watching the tryout one, because I'm gonna have to put out tryouts in a few weeks here. So nice to see how other people were doing that.
Yeah, and that definitely will help you give some framework of how to go about it. Although it's very general in that session, a lot of people don't know how to run any tryouts for any game, so that's kind of where we kept it. So
I thought the keynote was very good.
Today?
Yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of our keynotes have been really good. So once we launch the recordings, I don't know. Ethan, did you catch the ones yesterday or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones yesterday were actually really good too. So I'm happy and very excited with all the keynotes so far. So
You did a great job.
All right, let's get started. Thanks for everyone here. If we just want to go around the horn, Ethan, if you want to go ahead and get us started off, introduce yourself, where you're from, what you play, and then we'll just go around.
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Ethan Neisser. I'm the student lead for the Winnie Young Esports team. I mainly play Overwatch, but I mean, obviously esports, we do a bunch of games, so I do a bunch of games. And yeah, I got into esports. We started the team last year. Last year was really great, and this year we hope it's just going to be even better.
Lisa?
Oh, hi, I'm Lisa Neisser. I am Ethan's mom. I also have a son going to college in 2 weeks, and I run my own tax practice.
Thank you. If you guys want to go down there.
I'm Harlan Gargano. I play for the Springfield Capitals. I'm from Springfield. I play Overwatch League and Rocket League, and I was the captain for Rocket League last year, and I'm the secretary this year for the executive board.
And I'm Johnny Gargano, Harlan's dad, and I work and watch him play esports.
All right. Well, thank you. So we have representatives from Whitney Young and all the way down in Springfield. Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to start with the students first. Let's start with Ethan. Why did you get started with esports?
Yeah, so I had, obviously I've been playing video games for a really long time from my childhood. I think I started with like Minecraft. There's not a lot of esports. I mean, there are esports with Minecraft, but kind of as I, got older, started playing a little bit more of like the standard like competitive games. And obviously there's the pro scene with those, and watching the pro scene, seeing what professional esports is like. That's obviously pretty different than from what we're doing. But I had an opportunity right around like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, to play on a Overwatch team in this like community league, and it was a really good opportunity. Introduced me to a bunch of people that I still talk to today, and gave me a bunch of connections in terms of like really small scale esports, and really opened my eyes to that kind of stuff, and got me interested in seeing if I could do it at school, and it turns out we could. And yeah.
Nice. Okay. Harlan, how did you get started with esports?
Well, like Ethan, I played video games like all my life. It was like the main thing I did as a kid, like a little kid. And I always liked sports and stuff, but never good enough to make any teams. Basketball was my favorite one, but not good enough. But I heard on the announcements at Southeast when my coach McGee was starting the program at Southeast, and I was just like, oh well, I think I'm pretty okay at video games, and I've always wanted to be on a team, so I'll go ahead and try out. I've been on the team since freshman year, so it's been pretty cool.
Nice. So obviously you guys have been playing games for a very long time, and I think depending on the parents, they have different opinions about how much time kids should be spending on screen. So Lisa, let's go over to you. How did you feel about Ethan or any of your kids' involvement with playing video games when they were younger, like even before this point? Like, how did you see that?
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't thrilled with it. I mean, it was a lot of time on a screen versus outside. I do think, though, that this esports is different than my child just playing video games. I mean, there's just so much he's learned and had the opportunity to do. It's completely different than just, when he was a kid playing the game in his room or on the TV all the time.
Nice. And Johnny, how did you feel about Harlan?
Well, to be honest, I used Harlan as my scapegoat. I love video games myself and play quite a bit, so he was the main reason why I got new video games when we had him. And the excuse, so I was able to get past my wife and get new things saying that it was for him too. It worked out pretty well for me. So.
Nice. And I think that's, and depending on where you're coming from, some people are like, with me and my daughters, we play video games all the time. Like, we have a Minecraft server where me, my wife, and my daughter play. So it comes from both worlds, but then everyone realizes like, hey, my daughter does have screen limits most of the time, during the week and things like that. And we do have to watch that. And obviously there's a healthy relationship between being in front of the screen compared to, what you should be doing outside and reading and, working on schoolwork and things like that. But I definitely think it's important to get, a baseline of how you felt about them involved in games prior to this. So Ethan, you talked a little bit about what you do at Whitney Young. Can you go into a little bit more detail of how you're involved in esports at Whitney Young? Like, what are you doing on the day-to-day basis of running that club?
Yeah. So obviously I have people who help me out, but I mean, I would say I'm like the main person who manages the team. And so over the summer, I mean, we're, it's planning out tryouts and looking at different teams, and, during the year, planning out practices. I coached Overwatch last year, which was fun. I don't know if I'm going to be like the dedicated coach this year, but I'll be helping out. And I think I played in like one game last year. So do a lot of things, but also a lot of like the back end stuff, which is stuff you don't really think about, but like working with, school leaders and, finding if we really like need equipment or PCs or merch, or like working on social media. Like, there's all that stuff that is totally separate from like the gaming itself. That's really, really interesting and provides a lot of opportunities that I work on.
Yeah, and I think that's important that a lot of people don't realize. Hey, it's not just, hey, let me get 5 people and go play a game. There's a lot more things if you want it to be successful that you'd have to be able to do. Harlan, what about you? What are you doing? Because you're obviously playing on 3 teams, and now you're the secretary. What type of things are you doing for the Capitals?
Well, I think like last year when I was captain, I was definitely like more involved with like more people. The esports year hasn't really started yet this year, and this is my first time being on the executive board. But it's already been like cool. Like I have to make a different like Google Docs for each of our executive board meetings, and then like put that out to everybody. So like showing everyone the information in our meetings and like what's going on in the meetings and stuff like that. But, like being captain, obviously I'm not as like the main guy as Ethan is, because we have a bunch of coaches and stuff like that. But it's just I always try to talk to, since I was like the captain and I've been like in the esports program more than a lot of other people have been, like longer. I've always tried to like talk to people and like show them how, or like talk to them about how what I think and what they should do, and like help them throughout the esports program, like especially freshmen and stuff. So like just helping people like get through the initial like hump of getting into esports, because it's a new thing, especially in District 186.
Yeah, and I think that it also not just think about what you were saying in secretary and meeting with the executive board and something like that. Like that's something that I just realized how to do last year. So the fact that you're getting this now at your level, you're learning how a board of directors works and how you guys work as a team, and not only that, you're managing not just one school like Ethan. Like you guys have 3 schools in your district, although it's very probably similar in numbers, maybe a little bit bigger than Whitney Young itself, because Whitney Young is a pretty big school. But managing kids at 3 different campuses with coaches at all 3 campuses, and dealing with all of that extra that you wouldn't have to deal with if you can't just go across the hall and talk to Coach McGee. You could if you're in that building, but not that 1/3 of your team might not be able to do that. So I think that like that in itself right there is teaching you some really good lessons on how to communicate, what's effective ways to communicate to the regular members from the executive board, and vice versa. How does the regular members connect with the executive board if they don't like what's going on? So I think like watching you guys take on some of these leadership roles, like you said, helping kids out and helping them, understand what is esports, especially at the beginning, because a lot of kids are like, yeah, I'm the best. I'm going to be a Fortnite king. I'm going to, victory royale every time. I'm that good. Don't worry. And then they get in, they realize that, hey, esports is not just about playing, like showing up to practice. And Ethan, you probably know from coaching, like it's not just let's get another match and grind away. It's really about looking and reflecting and learning how to get better because of all the stuff that goes involved with esports in general. Because esports isn't just playing games over and over again, and that's the first thing you have to beat out of people. It's like, hey, let's not just grind up and queue up the next one. That's never the good answer of how to get better if you lose a match. It's always let's look at what we just did and try to improve on it or work on a goal for the future. I think it's something that that it takes somebody to tell them, and it helps when it's one of their peers being like, hey, let's slow down and let's look at this from a perspective. Because I've noticed throughout my different teams I've had, the people that have done the best and the kids who've done the best are the ones who've taken that leadership role and realize and talk to their peers, because they know that their peers are going to listen, rather than just a teacher or a coach thinking they're so much better than them. When their peers are telling them, hey, this is what we do for practice, it makes it a lot more meaningful, rather than just throwing it out there and telling them like this is just the way we do it and putting the fist down. Lisa, I want to talk to you because I did have a conversation with you a couple months ago, and that's kind of why I wanted you to be on here. You were telling me like how Ethan progressed and how you felt as Ethan started the esports club this year. So how have you seen him change, and how have you been okay with him changing and throughout this course of this first year of him running the club?
Well, I have to say what I love is that I feel like this last year, Ethan's been like the CEO of a startup. I mean, he did it all. And so his confidence has definitely grown. I mean, he had to reach out to the principal of our school, who is, a tough cookie, and convince her to do it. And then he's followed up with her. He's had to reach out to all kinds of different adults. He had to manage people, all the kids. He did marketing. He did a grant proposal. I mean, I'm very big into life skill education and transferable skills. And I think this has provided him with the opportunity to gain so many of those. And in a unique way, because if he talks about it, it's not something most students have had the opportunity to do. I mean, it's kind of unique in our school because it's student led, but you know, he did recruitment, he did marketing, he did design. And so seeing him gain those skills that I know are really important to be a successful adult has been just wonderful. I mean, and also that he has had the opportunity during COVID to make friends and get to know people in a school that he had never set foot in prior, you know, like I think he's been in there like 4 times.
Yeah, I think that's really awesome because Ethan, you were a freshman, you're a sophomore now, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for Ethan coming in as a freshman at a school that's a magnet school where it's not really a neighborhood school, you don't know kids that go there from around the neighborhood. You might have like 1 or 2 kids from your school go there, you know, because essentially it's bringing kids from all over the city there. For him to be able to run the program and actually be probably one of the most successful, you know, programs, and we've seen that with esports in general across the state, like one of the most successful programs after school or sports, athletics, otherwise, because we all were accustomed to being there. We actually got to meet people and make those relationships. So I think that's really awesome to hear that he was able to become that leader as a freshman, like not even knowing these people not even knowing him, and being able to create this club at Whitney Young without having stepped in the building. Like you said, talking to principals and get all those skills that he's doing, that these guys are doing right now. That's what we've been doing the past like 4 years with IHSEA and learning it. And I have no training in business and nothing like that. And so had I had this experience of running my own esports club at school, it would have been light years easier for me to try to develop marketing plans and figure out budget and, you know, learn how to present to people in fashions without just, you know, go ahead and doing it. So I think like a lot of the skills that you guys are doing right now completely transfer to you being your own self-independent person in the future. And I think that's kind of why I wanted to stress this, because it's so important to tell people like, hey, this is not just them sitting in front of a screen playing video games, like they said earlier today. This is really about them doing something that will lead them to have those future skills like you were talking about. All right, Johnny, over to you. Like, so how have you seen Harlan's behavior and everything change since he started participating in esports?
Well, just watched him from grade school and junior high. He always was kind of a natural born leader, but he never stepped up. I can't even talk today. He never really took that step to volunteer to be a leader and to do it. And just over the last couple of years, he's becoming more and more comfortable. And I have to attribute that to esports, of actually not being afraid to raise his hand and say, yeah, I can lead this. I can do this. I'm going to go for this. And before, you know, I pretty much, you know, we had to push him, sometimes force him, you know, step up. I mean, people, you can do this. And now it's like, I don't even have to tell him anything. It's like, oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And that's awesome. I mean, he's going to take that with him for the rest of his life. Of course, he's been real fortunate. Thanks to Coach McGee, is such a hard driver, go-getter, and that to have that just bleed down to everybody that's involved, it's huge. It's very beneficial for everybody. Can't thank him enough. I mean, I think it's been a great experience so far.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the important thing to, you know, another important point is because many kids have those abilities, but we don't find a space for them to portray them. They have those leadership. You might see it comes and goes here and there, depending on where they're at or what they're doing. But then when you see them get into their element in gaming and esports and they jump in, they're completely different people. And they really show some of those qualities that maybe they weren't as confident in other ways to be able to share. One of my stories with one of the kids that I had coached probably from, I knew him in 7th grade in the gaming club, because we have academic center, which is like a gifted 7th and 8th grade program. I knew him in 7th grade. He would come to club, quiet kid or whatever. But by the time he became a freshman, he became the captain of our League of Legends team as a freshman, running our captain, you know, of our team. And I would go into, you know, the break room and talk with other teachers about him. And they're like, are we talking about the same kid? Because he's never said a word in my class, and I'm the speech teacher. Like, he just wouldn't talk at all. But in as the captain, he would be there telling kids, oh no, this is what we're doing. This is what we should be doing. We should be focusing on this. Hey, cut out this here, and watch him really step up and be a leader and step out of the element. And, you know, through the 8 periods of the day, he would be silent. He wouldn't talk to anyone. He wasn't very social. He had a few friends, but nothing crazy, but you got him into the club after school and at practice, and he was going off, and he actually ended up, that I think it was by his junior year. Was it junior year? Either sophomore or junior year, he was actually on our school stream. Like he had a schedule. He, besides playing, League and Smash, he also would speed run Mario 64 and try to get on the leaderboard for that. So he would stream on our school channel his Mario 64 speed runs every week. He'd put like an hour or two into it and just stream it to try and, just have content on our Twitch page and things like that. But watching like the students grow, that you might not see them in their element. They might be the smartest kid ever, gifted, but they're not realizing their full potential until they get into some kind of familiar element. And I think that's kind of what you were describing there with Harlan, and how once he got into there, he had that confidence and he became that leader and stepped up and that go-getter. And I think Coach Wrigley is like great at being able to do that, because he really does push his kids and expect a lot out of them. And I think that's very important for esports, and for any new type of program, that you really have to push them to be those go-getters, and be able to, have a confidence in them to be able to do it. Because a lot of times nowadays we don't trust kids to do stuff like, back in my day, my mom would let us run the streets, at 10 o'clock when we were 10 p.m. until it got dark out. But nowadays it's like, oh, we can't do that. And I don't trust my daughter out side by herself, even in our backyard. We're in Chicago. But, it's trying to find that niche where we can actually allow them to be able to represent who they really are, and have them really step out and showcase their true talents. I think that's really important. Ethan, for you, what are some of your goals for the future? What are you looking forward to? You have still 3 more years now at Whitney with this program. What are some of your futures for next year and by your senior year? What do you hope to do?
Yeah. So, I mean, just in general, obviously continue to grow, our team and myself as an individual within esports. In terms of our team, we just started last year. Our team is very primitive, especially compared to like Springfield, where, they've been around for a few years. They have a lot more infrastructure, which I think is something we'll be working towards. Just specific to like, our team, we're working to get like a lab at our school, which I think will, be a big thing, really great way, because obviously, during last year, we didn't really have a choice if we were going to be online. But now that we're able to be back in person, I think, having a lab, having the ability to have everyone practice and have like just like an esports space where we can like have events and stuff at the school and have everyone together is really important. And, that kind of ties in with, I think we want to run like more like community events, right? Besides just competing and, having ways for not only just people who like are interested, but aren't like on a team, but also just like anyone who just come in and try to enjoy it. Yeah.
No, I think that's great. And I think you have the right approach to it. And that's kind of what we've been trying to celebrate here at this conference this weekend or this week, is just the fact that we want our esports communities to be inclusive and include everyone. Like one of the things like I always stress at our gaming club meetings, no matter where I go, it's like, hey, if we want to have like a Pokemon Go like outing and go for a walk around the neighborhood, why not just go ahead and do it and, have a big group go? Like it's all about making that community and being positive, including everyone as possible, not just the hardcore Overwatch, grinders and your grand champion Rocket League players. Like include everyone. Like there are people that might not want to be grand champions, but they do want to learn how to get better. Or they just like hanging out and playing car soccer, whatever it might be. I think it's important to stress that esports is not meant to just be the elite of the elite and, be the best at everything. And just, include that whole infrastructure, because then you can incorporate some of those other kids. Ethan, you're only going to be there for 4 years. You need to find a replacement like starting soon so you can start training them. Like that's, how it goes in high school. It's like I find a great captain and then he graduates and then I have to work on another one and start over again. So I think it's important to keep thinking about, how is this going to go down and how is this going to happen after I leave, and think about how you can set up your team and club to be successful for the future. Harlan, what are some of your goals for the future?
Well, just like for college, what I'm thinking about is definitely going into esports. for whatever college I go to, because just in high school, I've met so many new people and like honestly lifelong friends just from esports, and it's opened a lot of different pathways, especially like being secretary has definitely taught me a lot already, and the school year hasn't even started. So, and then also for like my senior year, like summer, I kind of want to try to grind out Overwatch, maybe try to get a scholarship for, you know, a college. So it's definitely a lot of my future is based around esports, because it's definitely just been really helpful in my life just in high school.
Nice. And I think that shows the different side of it, you being a senior and trying to look at esports scholarships and look for colleges and things like that. And I think, that's one thing that's often overlooked and or hyped up in the wrong way. It's not about necessarily getting the esports scholarship to be the best player. Like a lot of schools now are offering those management positions like you guys are doing as secretary and even as you're doing, like those management positions are actually given scholarships to help run their league. I don't know if you guys caught the session earlier with I know his initials are, I think it's AT, but he's the president of the video game club / esports team at U of I. They essentially
saw that one.
they essentially run a small business of like with 30 volunteer employees that are essentially running the whole thing. And you have a side that takes care of the community side. You have the side that takes care of the competition side. And, I think Ethan, if you didn't watch the whole thing, definitely like go back and check it out. And you too, Harlan, you might want to check it out, because I think he talks about a lot of his structure of how they do this stuff. And I did a podcast with them too last year when he was talking about the structure of all of U of I and how they work. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly how every club should be. But obviously it's U of I, it's college, a lot more free time on their hands than high school kids. But I think having a structure similar to that, I think is really important for that. And I think that, having this experience now, you may not get the scholarship, but definitely you possibly can be involved in some point where you could get a scholarship for even just managing, even if you're not that best player at some point. I know definitely there are some schools out there that give scholarships for broadcast work. Like essentially you're being the person behind the TV screen that's putting whatever's up on the screen. University of Boise State. That's what it is. Boise State. I was trying to think of the university. Boise State has like one of the best production setups. They literally have like what a cable football show would be, where they have like the 16 screen set up and they have the broadcast announcers over here in this booth with the players over there. And, they're putting together these reels and these things like all on the fly, just like you would for a live broadcast of any sporting event. So I think it's really cool that, you guys are getting some of that experience now, and it will lead to good stuff into the future for you. Let's wrap back up with the parents. We still have about 15 minutes left. Lisa, what do you see? You've talked about some of it, but what else do you see good about Ethan participating in esports rather than something else?
Well, I mean, I like it because he has the opportunity to meet people that he might not otherwise meet, and to bring people in that might not participate in anything. I mean, usually these kids are not going to be on the football team or the baseball team or anything like that. So I'm looking forward to that. We're also working to develop kind of structure so that there is a continuum in the club, so that as Ethan graduates, there's procedures and structures and hopefully a board and roles like that. I mean, it's just going to take time to develop, but those are all great. I mean, no matter what business you're in or what fraternity you're in or what organization you're in or board of directors, I've been on all that. Learning that is really critical. I think one of the best things he's learned, though, is really just how to speak up and advocate and market something that he's really proud of. I think that's been great for him. And I think it's a great opportunity for kids because, I mean, you kind of hit on it. I think there's an opportunity for kids to be involved. They don't all have to be players. I mean, there's lots of roles for kids, and I don't even think the kids realize that. It's like, yeah, you can come to practice and hang out and play or whatever. I mean, the people that are going to compete are at a different level, but you're going to hang with people that you click with and be part of a team, which is really important for high school, and gain these other skills. So I think there's just a lot of marketing and PR that needs to be done, that there are opportunities for. And maybe there's kids that are good at marketing and PR that could help them. I mean,
Yeah, I always talk about how, all of those other kids that are involved, there's always someone who wants to be a shoutcaster or wants to just be an analyst. Like Ethan says, like he plays Overwatch, but he coached mostly this past year, and I think that's an important distinction because some kids might not be the best players, but they might know how to analyze a situation and what they should have done in a certain frame, and giving them the opportunity, not just saying, "Oh, well, hey, you're not good enough." You're not a good enough player according to your rank to actually be our coach, but taking that step back and realizing that, hey, you need that outside person to be able to give you that outside perspective on it to be able to do it. Johnny, what do you see good coming out of Harlan participating in esports? Like what do you see? What are the good qualities that you see come out of him being part of this club?
Well, one thing that surprised me, and there was a tournament not too long ago, and that he actually helped commentate, and I was like, holy cow, he's actually a really good commentator. I never would have thought that. It was like that's who'd have thought that? It's like we're thinking of what's he going to do when he goes to college, because he's at that age now. It's like, what's your plan next? It's like he knows video games more than likely going to be involved somehow, some way. And I was like, well, then that opens up. I was like, you're pretty darn good at commentating. You might want to look into that too. It's just like it's endless, just like Lisa was saying a little bit ago. It's like there's so many small facets of the whole aspect of it that directly relates to adulting. So it's like definitely, I mean, it's just been an overall very beneficial thing. So not just playing. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's like you don't have to be good at something to be a good leader at something. I was like, there's so many different aspects around that, and it's directly related to the esports programs that are popping up all over the place. Like, to me, it's fantastic. It's awesome.
Thanks. And I think that like what you and Lisa are talking about, like they can be good at these things, but like you can be a great accountant, but just because you're a great accountant, if you don't like the place you're working for, you're not going to enjoy it as much as if you love the place you're working for and you're great at accounting. So I always tell people, like, it's not necessarily, what you're doing, but also who you're doing it for that will contribute to your lifelong happiness. And I think that's something that we should stress to these kids, is that now as esports is growing up, like these places need accountants that are trained and certified to manage their books, and they need people that need to know how to do PR and do media and all of these other businesses. We had Gamer Doc on yesterday, and she literally is a licensed doctor who is there to treat gaming related injuries. That's her profession. Her profession is gaming related injuries. And she's like, yeah, we have people come in all the time, not just hardcore, gamers, but looks like casual gamers who end up getting wrist injuries or, something along that side. And, she loves doing that, but then she also runs a nonprofit. If you weren't watching, she runs a nonprofit for gender inclusivity in the gaming industry to try and help make sure that everyone is, doing it the right way. And I think with all the stuff going on now, it's so much more important if you're not, following the news that's going on this week with the walkout and lawsuit right now with Activision Blizzard. I think it's really important that we show kids how to interact with females at this lower level, because in the tech industry and the business world, it is sad that that women are mistreated in the workplace. And I think a lot of this is coming to fruition, especially in the tech industry, which these kids may be a part of when they get older, depending on what field they go into. So I think it's super important to train kids at this age and even younger of how to deal with girls in gaming, especially because they don't necessarily see them as as good or as a valuable representation of a gamer. Lisa, last question, and then we'll have one more question for the kids too. How would you suggest to approach other parents talking about their kids participating in esports? Because I've had a couple parents be like, "Oh, my kid's not playing games; he has to be on the football team." So how would you suggest for schools and kids and even us to go and approach parents to tell them why their kids should be in esports?
I like to do it the same way. In Chicago, we have to kind of pick our schools. So I tell people, like, what are the things you're looking for in an activity for your child?
Oh, your mic cut out.
someone else.
I think we can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. My external microphone died, so I switched to my computer. I apologize. So if you ask parents what are the things they're looking for in an activity, then you can go and show them how this provides that for them. I mean, most people are looking for socialization and they're thinking esports, oh, the kids are one-on-one or whatever. It's a team sport. I mean, you're learning teamwork, and you're learning communication, and you're learning strategy and analysis and dealing with defeat. And I mean, if I say to people, because I teach that kind of stuff, it's like, oh, my kid's learning this, this, and this. Yeah, it's good. But if you ask them the skills, then it's kind of hard for them to go, oh, well, I wouldn't even consider that, because you've shown them that, like, it's all there. I mean, it's actually probably one of the better activities the kids can do. I think it's, Ethan did a presentation to our local school council. I mean, that's how many kids in football do a presentation, or anything like that. I think it's been just great. And I just feel like it's a much more inclusive and accepting community than some of the sports that kids are in. So when they're dealing with so much pressure, I think, to me, my perception is it's much more accepting than some of the other ones. And I think for parents, that's a big thing with all the social pressure that their kids are dealing with.
Yeah, totally agree. Johnny, how do you feel schools and groups like the IHSEA should approach other parents about why their kids should participate in esports?
Well, we've been pretty fortunate in District 186. Not just the main coach, but the coaches on down and the kids involved as well are pretty good and pretty vocal about it. So it's been pretty successful, and I think it's just going to keep getting bigger, but primarily just highlighting the benefits that come out of not just esports as a whole, but pretty much any sport or club. I mean, just the benefits of being involved, especially like in the year of COVID last year. So lucky to have esports, because there's so many other athletics that were just left dead in the wind, but esports, we just kept charging on, and that definitely had to help with a lot of our esports kids' mental health factor and other aspects, because even though they weren't getting the face-to-face, they were still able to stay in touch and involved. And even when people leave and go back, just to be able to still stay in touch strictly through video games and esports is like this, that just benefits everybody. It's just kind of like how Facebook exploded. That instant communication and sharing back and forth, it's important. That hunger for human interaction, even when you're hermetizing yourself, it's still beneficial. So I mean, it's just our overall community is huge. It's accepting. I mean, it doesn't matter what flavor or color you are, just as long as you play games, have fun, no matter if you're good or bad, you're going to find people to talk to. You're going to find an accepting group, and that fact alone will bring a lot of interest in people that'd be more than willing, that normally like, yeah, video games or whatever. It's like, it's a lot more than that.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that was a great way to frame that all together, both of your answers together. I think that kind of helps solve that problem of how do you do that. Now there's just getting the word out there to the parents and be like, hey, yes, this is real. This is something that your kids can do. Will be the next step in trying to convince, get over those stereotypes that people think of when they think of gamers, and all the harm that has been done with the videos and the jokes online about video gaming and how it's not good for kids, and showing them that, hey, this is really, really important. Ethan, for you, if you're a student right now watching this, what would be the best way for you to approach both your parents or the school about why they should start an esports club?
So, I mean, obviously, it's pretty similar to what I did. And just based off that, I think, having student leaders and having students take initiative is a really important aspect of esports for most schools, just like due to the fact that, there are, a couple adults that are very knowledgeable and very dedicated, but mostly you don't really think of gaming as something that like most teachers are gonna be too involved with. And so it really comes upon as like the most common path from no esports team to esports team is like a student or a group of students really taking the initiative and approaching school leaders. And I think the biggest thing in that process is just kind of showing the nuance of esports, right? And I know we've kind of talked about this the whole time, but it's not just people playing video games. And I think it's a lot more similar to an athletic team, which obviously schools, love. And it can have a lot of benefits for the school and the kids. And, just like if you are at a school and you're a student and they don't have esports, be the one to take the initiative, reach out, send an email or talk to one of your school leaders and just, think about why esports is beneficial for the school, because there are, tons of reasons. And it's really hard for them to say no if you really lay out, how things are, because it's very beneficial. It's great for the kids, great for the school. And
Thank you. Harlan, I'll let you wrap up with your answer to the question. How should students go and approach their schools or even their parents about why they should participate in esports?
Well, for our esports program, since we're not like, I don't know like everything behind the scenes, but we're not like, we don't have to follow some like of the specific rules for different sports. So McGee actually makes harder rules for like different like grades and stuff. So we can't even have 1F or else we can't play. So there's stuff like keeping kids like their grades in check. With a lot of charity events we do. I mean, that's great for the community as a whole. There's so much good that comes out of it, like charity, keeping kids' grades good, like mental health, like my dad was saying. It's just all kinds of different stuff. It's not all video games, like we've said. It's like just a community, really.
That's awesome. And that's kind of one of the other things that we're stressing this year at IHSEA. During this time of this panel, there's another one going on for Extra Life. And if you guys aren't familiar, it's a charity that raises money for local children's hospital. And so that's the shirt I have on right now. It's one of this is last year's shirt. I forget, but they give a new shirt every year for depending on how much you collect for the charity. And over the course of the 6 years I've done, I think I've raised about $14,000 for Lori's Hospital. And I've actually run fundraisers at my school. When I was at Taft, we would essentially, the point of Extra Life is think of it like a jogathon or a runathon. I'm doing this many laps. Well, with this, you pledge to play games for 24 hours. You can do it whenever you want, however you want. Like, obviously, they're very, very loose with the rules on it because they obviously know health concerns. Like, you don't want to be doing it for 24 hours. But that's when I did it at school. We did 2 12-hour sessions. So we went from 9 to 9 one day, and then from 10 to 10 another day, where the kids had to raise money. They came in, they brought their own equipment. We filled up the lab. I had like 30 kids in there who had raised money, and we just played games for 12 hours straight at school, which was really cool experience. And that's kind of the next level. Besides the inclusion, this year we want to do more framework about giving back. And so we're going to be starting campaigns where schools can start their own clubs on there, and we can keep track and see how many clubs are, which schools are raising the most money, we can do stuff, break it out like per capita, how many kids are at the school and how much money, and, give some awards away to the schools that are really performing and giving back in the charity. Because, as with Coach McGee in Springfield, he's always trying to do essentially all of those things. So I think he's really happy with what we're doing this year with the charity give back and all of those different incentives, because I think it's really important to show kids like, hey, you can give back no matter what community you're part of. And I think that's really important. So definitely we'll be giving out more information about how to do that, because I think it's really important. I end up doing usually 3 24-hour sessions a year. I just did one right after school got out as like a celebratory session where me and my stepbrothers would play a game from 9 a.m. until 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. the next day. And then I'll do one. Actual Life has an actual game day. That's their official game day where most people do it. And then I usually do one around Christmas break too, just for fun and try and raise more money before the end of the year deadline. So we're excited about including a lot of kids into this, but obviously, maintain the health concerns. It is a struggle. It is definitely tough to do. But I do want to thank you guys all for participating in this panel. We are wrapping up at this time. I think this was a great experience, and this really showcased getting the voice out of the parents and the students who are participating in here. So I do want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to be here.
Yes, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys. Have a great day, and feel free to check out any of the sessions tomorrow if you're free.
Definitely.
Have a good day, guys.